G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today we are on the map Wetlands to witness two of the world's best players face off on the ranked ladder. And boy oh boy, have a look at this spawn that we've got in the north of the map here. This is absolute insanity how good this spawn is. He's got one hunt here, second hunt right here, and then a boar that he can bring. I wouldn't even be surprised if he goes for a TC over here. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Spawning in the south of the map in the color yellow, playing as the French. We've got Voldemar. And in the north of the map in the color purple, playing as the Order of the Dragon, we've got Chrysaor. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Chrysaor? I'm kind of tempted to call him just Chrysaor? I don't know what the actual pronunciation is. Normally, you know, I'm not too good with pronunciation, especially being Australian, or as I just had a little reminder. Oh my gosh, I don't know how many of you guys watch the IT Crowd, but look, if you don't watch it, I'd recommend just go search for on YouTube IT Crowd Bluff Ball. It is just you're probably gonna. I'm gonna convert a lot of people. You watch that one clip, and you're just going to watch. You're just gonna watch the whole thing. It's so good. It's a great show. It was you know, it's a good quality. It's an entertaining show. Anyway, let's talk less about the TV show and more about the game that we've got in front of us. So, big changes to these two civilizations. Of course, the French picked up a huge buff in the most recent season update, and that is that your docks now give plus 10 population. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's the buff. That's all. That's literally all they got, dude. And then on the south side, the Order of the Dragon. Wait, hold on. Sorry, these are the French. I apologize. This is the French. Oh, sorry, this is the Order of the Dragon. A little bit mixed up here with my positioning. For the Order of the Dragon, they got a couple little changes here and there, like slight changes to their torch damage. So like basically all their Castle Age units get +1 torch damage now. So it goes from like 28 to 29, and then the Imperial Age is also increased as well. Actually, is it 28 to 20? Yeah, I think it's 28 to 29. Then Imperial Age is increased slightly as well, but it was all just very minor things. Like the main thing that changed, and this is going to be the case for a lot of civilizations, is that you now have access to siege that is just completely weird. We don't know. Like this is kind of no man's land at this stage because there weren't a lot of games played on the pup, or at least not that I saw, right? Like, I went on the pup, I kind of played around for a little bit. I was thinking of starting or doing a tournament on it, because that's something that I've done in the past, is whenever there's been a pup, I've been like, all right, well, you know, I want to kind of see what's good, what's not good. Let's run a tournament. But I just said, you know what, like, we'll see how it goes. We'll figure it out as we go. But there's nothing too game-breakingly silly here. Like, as an example, we don't have, you know, any new units, like the Ottomans do, which, well... yeah, but that's an interesting unit. And by the way, for anybody wondering, there is actually a difference in name between the Rus Horse Archer and the Ottoman Cavalry Archer. That's correct. The one is a Horse Archer, the other one's a Cav Archer. So that's going to be fun trying to cast that and trying to remember that. We got the Cav Archers, the Horse Archers, and then we got the Honor Musha. So, there we go. So, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, yeah, so Siege. We've got no idea what the deal is with Siege. We don't know where it is. We don't know where it sits. Obviously, the devs are good, right? Like, they've got a lot of good players who play, or who do balance for Age of Empires 4. They've got some of the best players in the world. I'm not even kidding you, right? There's a guy on the dev team called Mito. I don't know if he still does balance, but he used to do balance back in the days. He won tournaments playing in Age of Empires 3, and when Age of Empires 4 came out, I was like sending him texts like, bro, you got to get and play these tournaments. Like, you're going to be insanely good. Like, you probably beat Viper. You beat all of these guys. And unfortunately, he couldn't play. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that they have got some pretty solid numbers, or at least numbers that they're confident with. So it should be balanced. My question is going to be, is there going to be a decent way to actually deal with the siege on the surface? It doesn't seem that there is. It basically feels like horses, cavalry is what it needs to be. There were a couple of last-minute changes to siege, which I'm still yet to familiarize myself with. So, look, we'll use this as a learning experience. We'll see how it goes. And look at this. Look at this read right here coming through. If we ride on board here with Chris, he just knows the time. He knows, okay, well, if the French player ages up at 4 minutes and 6 seconds and it takes 29 seconds to train a knight, that means that I have to pull my guys off the hunt at this time. And what a smart move for him to do that, because he's just been out on the hunt all this time. He's been having a field day, and now when the knight comes in, he's just easily able to deflect Doesn't have to worry about, you know, forgetting about these vills that are out here. And of course, there's about 350 food that is still out here, but he's got such great value out of this. This was 5 deer in the starting hunt, which works out to be about 1,400 food that he's managed to get. The equivalent of like 6 free sheep, basically, is the best way to think of it. So now he's going to come back. Now he's going to be on sheep. And on top of that, of course, now he's got the Ark and Chapel as well. Probably something that is quite relevant. Interesting positioning on the Ark and Chapel here. Wants to make sure all the sheep are right underneath this town center. They're positioned in a bit of an awkward way at the moment, so a little bit of a misplay here from him. Now, keep in mind, he's a good player. Chris Aor is Conqueror 3 player. Very, very good gamer. Knows exactly what is going on here. And obviously the same for Voldemar. A very, very good player as well. So for Voldemar on the south side, what's the strategy plan here? So a couple of upgrades he's already gone into. So we see he's picked up the double broadaxe upgrade, also gone into the wheelbarrow upgrade, and now going to throw down a barracks. And I'm kind of curious to see what the plan is for him. Obviously, up against the Order of the Dragon, he's going to be looking to see what is the main threat here that he's got. And at this stage, there's nothing. There's no stable. There's no barracks, there's no archery range, there's no nothing. He just knows that there's an outpost on the gold and enough villagers there that probably justify a castle age. So that's what he's thinking about stopping. So how does the barracks stop the castle age? Is it that he's going to look to try and siege down this outpost and potentially deny out the gold? Could be the case. I don't think he'd go to the extent of maybe, you know, getting a battering ram, but this is a smart move. Pulling villagers forward, looking to deny the gold through the use of an outpost. Now, this is a little bit late, and I think that Chris Aor is probably still going to get up. And I suspect, even though we can't see the map, I suspect there's probably a gold mine over on the back or over on the down here that he's going to be able to access. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, he's literally got gold in the back of his base. Incredibly good spawn for him. He's got the larger gold up towards the top side, and this gold kind of exposed towards the bottom of his base. Nothing towards this corner. It's quite barren out here, to be honest, with the exception of a couple of trees. But the spearmen are going to come here, look to reinforce this position, and you can see that the vills should be right outside that radius of the outpost. That's until the arrow slits come through, and you can see the arrow slits have already come through for Chris Aor, and he's firing down at this outpost, so it will be no question as to whether this position will be compromised by the outpost. It almost certainly will. Take a look at this. Instead of opting for a more conservative route with potential relics getting picked up, he looks to go into the Burgrave. Now, for the Order of the Dragon, the Burgrave's a little bit different. For anyone who's been playing this game for longer than, 2 or 3 months, you'll probably know those differences. But for those who haven't, those who are new, the Burgrave is slightly different between the Order of the Dragon and the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire, you pay full price, but you just pay, or you have very fast production. So it's essentially like 5 Raxes in the same building. With the Order of the Dragons, it's that you're paying for cheaper units. And they do produce slightly faster, but it's not a huge amount of speed or pace difference that you've got. So you can see they produce units 35% faster, but 35% cheaper. And techs also research faster as well. So it's one of the landmarks where you want to get it, and then you just want to make sure that you're always producing from it. Because every second you're not producing from it, you're not gaining resources, in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, every spearman that you create from the Burgrave is a spearman that is cheaper than what it should be. And instead of paying full price for it later, you can pay half price, or not half price, but 35% price now. And as a result, you're saving resources. So you just basically want to get your Burgrave online and then just never stop making units out of it. And I think that applies even if you're thinking about like going Imperial Age. You still probably want to be making units out of the Burgrave rather. If you actually did go for the Burgrave. So he's going to move into Gilded Spearmen. Of course, Gilded Spearmen going to do very well here. It counters the cavalry units, and it will break even with the Spearmen, cost for cost, or pound for pound. But of course, in these numbers, shouldn't have any trouble whatsoever. He's just got to make sure he braces against these cavalry that are charging into the backside. He gets charge damage onto both of them. Could have just turned those spears around, and he would have been able to get some nice little skewers and had horse meat for dinner, but unfortunately doesn't find it. Now, I suspect that Voldemar's probably going to be thinking about going into an archery range. Or is he going to be going castle himself? What's the play here, Voldemar? Because I don't see too much of an indication as to what the plan is. I see a lot of spears coming out, and I see a lot of knights on the field, and that kind of scares me because now all Chris Aor needs to do is start mixing in a couple men-at-arms, maybe even a lance connector, and that is going to be very difficult for you to deal with, especially in this nice little defensive pocket that he's got for himself. He's slowly walling himself up and cutting off the opportunities for these cavalry units. But speaking of opportunities, it looks like he's going to find one. A little extra health on these villagers for the Order of the Dragon, but 2 of them do go down. No textiles through just yet. Probably a mistake against a civilization as active as the French when it comes to raiding, but looks like he's Going to be able to find his way through onto another villager. Doesn't manage to get it. This Phil's going to have to head on back. He's going to try and repair up this wall in the short little time that he's got here, and manages to catch these two knights on the backside, able to take out both of them. Very nice find there for Chris Ayor. A little bit of a mistake, a little unforced error there from Voldemar. But we do now start to see archers on the way for him. Double range coming up. Looks like he's going to stick it out in feudal. He's got 9 vils on gold, though, so I'm going to recall that or retract that statement immediately, because you don't put 9 vils on gold to hang around in feudal, that is for sure. Even if you're just making knights, like, you probably want 4 to 5, but then 9 is crazy territory. I mean, to be fair, he could probably just go for upgrades and then add a second stable, and you could probably stay feudal. But judging by the amount of resources that are actually getting banked up here, I am quickly thinking that he's going to be going to feudal. I just realized I recorded a couple of videos earlier and I never switched it over to income per minute. So I didn't even apologize. It must be a while, because I guess with doing Outback Octagon, I don't need to do that. Take a look at this though. Nice damage coming through from Voldemar. I love the way he just gets the charge and then just immediately falls back. He knows that those spearmen do not mess around. So as long as he can just get a little bit of damage on them and then just get out, like, he's happy with that little bit of a trade. But Gilded Spearman will go down. He's lost quite a bit of units here, Chris Ayor, on the defense. He's going to try his best here to continue to build up. Still yet to take any relics on this map at this stage of the game. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one down towards the bottom side. So they are all positioned pretty evenly, I would say. This one here in particular is going to be difficult for Chris Ayor to get his hands on. It is so damn hard to get behind here. Have a look at that. Good luck to him. I'd be surprised if he's actually uncovered that. We can take a look and see. Yeah, he doesn't even know about that relic. He knows that there's... No, he doesn't even know about the route. He knows roughly about where that area of the map is, but that is a very secluded and secretive area of the map for a relic to be stuck behind, and favorable for Voldemar. Age Up still not coming through. He's actually drained all of his resource banks. What's going on here? Hold on. I'm looking on the minimap. I'm like, can we just not see the Age Up? Has he dropped it down, but he hasn't started building? And it doesn't look like it. He's just going to go absolutely ham on the unit numbers here. Continuing to push forward now. Men-at-Arms together with the Spearmen. The Men-at-Arms obviously going to try their best to hold the line here, but the Knight's going to be able to cut through them. Vil's going to have to fall back. Chris Ayor in a little bit of trouble here early on in this game. 12 minutes through, and Voldemar is looking angry. He's looking upset, and he is looking like he wants blood. And indeed, he shall find it. Siege Engineering coming through. We also see Chivalry coming through for these Knights. Let's switch it over to income per minute. Now we're at 12 minutes and 22 seconds, which is pretty damn far through this game. Meanwhile, the hold continues for Chris Ayor. He's moving into archers on the backside. So Gilded Archers, maybe even thinking about going into Gilded Crossbowmen, could be nice for him in this situation on the defensive here. Both of those units obviously really nice to have, especially when you're playing defense. Allows you to kite back towards the town center, keep your units a little bit, or keep them alive for a little bit longer. Now the Burgrave continuing to pump units. It's going to be Men-at-Arms that are coming out here. It's going to be so careful. Keep in mind that he's lost this gold at the front, and now he potentially risks losing the gold at the back as well. Meanwhile, towards that west side, the top side of the base, the focus is going to be on these units applying pressure to the wall. He's going to make his way around outside. He's going to be so careful here. He could get trapped. He could get trapped. He might get trapped. He's going to get trapped. Run, Chris Ayor. And he runs indeed as fast as he can. Nice little connection there with the Knights, but the Men-at-Arms turn around. These guys are strong. They're tough, but at the same time, they're not that scary. Not when you've got this many Knights. And I think that's part of the reason why Voldemar is so happy to play it out in Feudal Age with this many Knights. And he's slowly whittled down the army of Chris Ayor down to 5 Men-at-Arms. That is all he's got. And now finally we start to see those Gilded Crossbowmen coming through. Second archery range is going to come up for him as well. Whew, it's been a tough little opening here for him. He is under a lot of pressure. Second outpost is going to come up as well. Not only does this deny out any potential gold vein attempt, but it does also risk the villagers being attacked here. Feudal Age is going to mean that you can't pick up a Springald emplacement though. And now that triple combination, archers, spearmen, Royal Knights just working so damn well together. Voldemar is incredibly talented when it comes to these Feudal Age fights. And honestly, I feel like he could just play this kind of strategy every single game and you would climb so high. Like, he's just got very good control. And I think that's a part of it, right? Knowing when to hold it, knowing when to fold it. And Voldemar obviously excelling here. Chris Ayor going to try his best to hold underneath the town center. Vil's on the run. He's got 6 inside already. Might have to think about evacing them out the back. And more Gilded Crossbowmen now going to be looking to connect. He's going to lose out plenty of vills here. He's lost 8 vills already. He's down quite a bit on that vill count. Down 19 vills, 20 vills now. Keep in mind that the Order of the Dragon villager count is always going to be a little bit lower than the enemy, but definitely not that low. It is way too low. That is for sure. Men-at-Arms going to look to try and chase down these archers and knights in here as well. But ideally, you'd want to try and keep everything together. Unfortunately for Chrysaor, he's lost a lot of units. How do you even play on this from this position as Chrysaor? Because he's behind. Now we know that there's only been one town center that's come through from Voldemar. And at this point, Voldemar's got a couple of options he can go. He can go into a second TC, he can go Castle Age, he can just keep playing in Feudal Age and start making battering rams. So from Chrysaor's perspective, what is the correct play for him? I think for him, he needs to try and find a military advantage. That's the first thing. And then maybe a second town center would make a bit of sense here. Now, you could always look for Imperial and then leverage a Palace of Swabia, which is always going to be very strong. But I don't think you're going to find an opportunity to get there, just considering how aggressive the French player is. This is traditionally a difficult matchup for the Order of the Dragon player. And there's not going to be an opportunity for you to get that many resources and buy your time. I mean, I guess technically you can get an outpost and throw it down in the back of the base, cannon emplacement, all that good stuff, but you haven't had an opportunity to pick up relics, so it means that your outposts aren't going to be as strong, your gold income's not going to be as thick, as big. It's not going to be, your gold income's not going to be as shiny. Let's go with that. That's going to be our option for us today. But Gilded crossbowman numbers starting to build here, and keep in mind they do have that lovely extra bit of range as well, 6 tiles of range in total, so he does have that that opportunity to just try and kite away from the archers. Obviously, when it comes to speed for these crossbowmen, they are only 1.12 movement speed compared to the 1.25 of the archer, so if you build up that archer mass high enough, you can technically overwhelm the Gilded crossbowmen, but the Gilded crossbowmen are absolutely no slouches when it comes to fighting against archers either. Outpost looks like it is going to be denied here. Second outpost has been solidified. He's got the fortification as well as the arrow slits that have come through here. He's being very annoying with this position. Emergency repairs onto the house and now looks to try and stabilize. So it's at a point like this is where I feel like it seems safe to go into a second town center. Where would you put a second town center if you were going to go for it? Well, maybe on the boar, but it's outside the walls. It would make sense to try and secure that food. Maybe you just put it in the back of your base, but maybe you want to reserve that space for farms. Morville's going to go down, and he still doesn't have that full wall up. Playing against the French and JD and not getting that full wall up can very much hurt the economy, and today it has been no exception. 13 vills down so far this game. You know, wouldn't he love to have 47 vills at this stage of the game? Obviously not going to be the case. It's down on 34. Gilded crossbowmen and those gilded spearmen just getting picked off by the archers. You hate to see it. Look how much damage they're copping. Really, really painful losses here, because these are the guys that are going to help you hold the line against those inevitable raids and those inevitable charges that come in from the Royal Knights. Meanwhile, over towards the east side, more outposts continue to come up. He's literally just blocking him in. It's a blockade right now of the Order of the Dragon. Spears charging their way forward. Great job kiting away with those Gilded crossbowmen, and the Gilded crossbow number is building. He's up to 12 now. This is more than enough to one-shot out those Royal Knights. So Voldemar looks to head away for the moment, still just spamming out those units, and a second town center will come down for him. This is where it could become a pivotal moment of the game. I don't expect Chrysaor to spot this. I don't expect him to scout it, just considering the circumstances that he's in and the fact that he is just dealing with constant pressure. But I would expect that his game sense would be tingling right now, and he would be thinking, is there going to be a second TC up? Where is he going? You know, the longer he's not staying in, or the longer he's staying in Feudal, the more likely it becomes there's a second TC somewhere. Now picking off those knights one by one, getting out some decent value. He's going to look to try and take out the horsemen here, but not able to get the one shot off. He's got quite a lot of those Gilded crossbowmen, but unfortunately not enough to one shot the horsemen. Now on the defense once again. His numbers have been whittled down to 6. Gilded crossbow still trying his best. The Men-at-Arms going to come out and look to try and hold this front down. The Men-at-Arms combo with the Gilded crossbow quite well, because the Men-at-Arms beat everything in the Feudal Age except for the Knights, and the crossbows obviously beat the Knights. So that's essentially the thinking behind it. So from Chrysaor's perspective now, where does he go from here? Because the food is starting to stack up. He's got a nice farming economy that's pretty golden at this stage. He's also looking to take out this outpost on the east side. So pretty smart move here. He's attempting to drop down a mill on the berries as well as the fish that are here. Nice little junction of food. Nice little junction of berries meeting some fish. And now that push continues to come out in the middle. Battering ram going to be dealt with here. Keep in mind, Voldemar not even thinking about going to the castle age at this stage. He is still stocked and ready for the feudal age. Number of units continues to build for him. 29 military pop against 28. But look at that villager count. 69 against 40. I tell you what, when I watch players like Voldemar playing the French, it makes me want to play the French. Even though right now he's not doing too hot, I just see this and I'm like, this is just such good gameplay. I love the way that he's doing it. I love his moves. What's that old quote? Do you guys ever watch H3H3? Man, I remember back in like the golden age of YouTube and the internet, H3H3 was the funniest stuff. I just remember it was, you know, looking back on his content, it was a very simple formula. He'd find something that was cringe, and then he'd put water in his mouth, and he'd watch it, and then he would just spit out the water and do pretend like he was having a brain aneurysm. And that was literally his content. And look, I mean, it worked. It was funny at the time. And I mean, look, it's probably still funny going back on it. Anyway, why did I bring up H3H3? I don't remember. I don't remember. Ethan. Oh, yeah, Ethan. Great. Because of the intro, Michelle Obama says, great moves, Ethan. Well, because he's dancing and it's like, you know, actually, one of the best video that he ever did was the 420 Blaze It. What was it? Oh, my God, that was so funny. God, that was peak internet back then. That was peak YouTube. It's become a lot more commercial since then. You know, like, I watched a video today about the new McLaren. Like, they've released a new car to McLaren. I think it's called the W1, and it's on like the McLaren's YouTube channel. And it's like, that's kind of wild, man. Like you've just got these insanely corporate brands with their corporate YouTube channels. Don't get me wrong, video production was awesome. Car looks cool. Just kind of wild. Just anyway, philosophy with Drongo. I don't know if you'd call that philosophy. That's probably not philosophy. That's just Drongo bitching. And hey, come on, we're 20 minutes through this game. You're allowed to have a little bit of bitching. I don't know how long this game goes for. This could be a 30-minute game. This could be an 80-minute game. So we'll have to wait and see. But expect more bitching. You guys get one bitching session every 10 minutes. I'll give it to you, okay? So we're at 21 minutes here. I'll allow you another one at the 30-minute mark. Am I allowing you guys or am I allowing myself? I'm giving myself permission. Nice little wall out of the outside or out to the outside world. Second TC still not in sight yet for Chrysaor, but this has definitely been an opportunity for him. He's now going to start pushing down the enemy base. And where is Voldemar? Voldemar's looking to try and get to castle age here. Military count is in favor of Chrysaor at this stage of the game, and he's going to make his way through underneath the town center. There's a lot of units here. This is exactly what he wants to do. He wants to push while his enemy is in the castle age, and he's going to pop all the knights inside the town center. Is he just going to pop the knights out on top of the Gilded Crossbowmen? Because that would be hilarious. That would be incredibly smart. That would be a gamer move, that is for sure. Guildhall going to come down, 16 vills on it. He's going to pull all the vills, with the exception of a handful on that top side, to help build this. But naturally falls back away from this, realizes that it could be a trap. There could be a Death Star lying in wait. It's a trap. Is it a trap? It's not a trap. No, it was a trap. It was definitely a trap, man. When you see those knights, like, it's such a smart move. Why is it a smart move? The knights have to run from here all the way around the town center, and they're going to funnel through. And when they're funneling through, they're going to get shot at by the Gilded Crossbows. So if you just put all of your knights in the town center, and then you can just choose where they go. Like you can say, I just want you guys to pop out right here. And they're all just going to pop out, and they'll be on top of each other, but they'll be on top of the enemy as well. Age Up now comes through. Does he keep it on food? Does he switch it over to gold like we most often see? Looks like it's going to stay on food for the moment. But yeah, that was a real smart gamer move, and I can see why Chrysaor had to respect that. He was like, oh, okay, all right. I did not calculate for that one. I think I'm going to try and play for that one in the future. That's a smart move. Like, obviously, we use that with villagers. Like, the villager pop is a real thing, especially when you're being attacked with rams. But to use it with military units is kind of wild. It just stops them from getting shot by ranged units and just allows them to avoid pathing and just enjoy killing. You know, what they excel at, what they like to do. All right, Chrysaor's numbers looking scary here. 80 military population against 56. Now, keep in mind, the longer this game goes, the better it gets for Voldemar, because Voldemar's been on 2 TCs for a while now. I don't know exactly how long it's been. If I had to guess, I'd probably say about 7 minutes. That's the number I'd give you. Maybe 8 minutes? Maybe not that long. Yeah, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. I'll go 7 minutes. 6 minutes. 6 minutes and 46 seconds. Let's go with that. It's been a decent amount of time that he has had the pleasure of training 2 villagers at a time. So, looks like, I don't know whether this second town center has been spotted out, but there was a men-at-arms behind enemy lines that did make it pretty deep. And I'm loving this combo that's coming out from Chrysaor. So, at this stage, men-at-arms, Gilded Crossbowmen. Naturally, I look at this many crossbowmen, and I think to myself, I'd love a Mangonel for right now. You know, Mangonel would do me absolutely perfectly. But things aren't the way they used to be, ladies and gentlemen. They're not the same as they once were. Siege has been reworked multiple times in this game. I'm sure you'll remember the death of CG Cutie. Not Beastie. He's still alive, he's still kicking, he's still well, do not worry. But CG Cutie, he got taken out. And I suspect he may have been brought back online in this most recent patch. Do we see the return of the Transformer? We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But at this stage, no siege is yet to be found. Voldemar on the defensive looks to hold the front line, and it is absolutely beautiful. There's so many Gilded Crossbow on the back. You can see just how well these men-at-arms are able to tank through or hold out on that damage. Only a handful of them left. And the archers look to try and fight back the Gilded Crossbow. A couple more men-at-arms just sieging down the palisade gates. And they do all go down. And with that, the army from Chrysaor still stays quite strong after this battle. So now we head back to the drawing board as Voldemar. Voldemar says, okay, well, you know, we kind of broke even there. And just remember, any fight that Voldemar breaks even is a good fight. That is a good fight for Voldemar, because the longer the game goes, the better it gets for Voldemar. So if he lost that fight there, then that means maybe he loses the town center and then loses the farms that are around it. And maybe he loses some gold or some space or some resources. So the fact that he broke even there, the fact that they, you know, there was no further encroachment upon the base by Chrysaor, that's a great thing for Voldemar, because naturally, the longer it goes, the better it gets. 102 versus 103 versus 54. Obviously, the caveat being that just because he's only on 55 vils doesn't mean his economy is not that great. He doesn't have any relics. We'll say that much. So yet to pick up any relics. And the other thing to note... Oh, I keep forgetting about shaft mining and how good it looks now. The other thing to note was... Oh, lumber preservation also got changed, didn't it? That's not this patch. That's the last patch. Yeah, the other thing to know, these are powerful vils, right? Like, this is 56 vils, but, like, times them by 0.25, 0.28. What's the... Yeah, 0.28. Times them by 1.28, actually. Don't times them by 0.28. That would not give you a good number. That would not give you an accurate number, but 1.28. So you're talking about an extra 28% on top of what we've got here. So you're looking at roughly, what? An extra... Oh, gosh. Numbers, not my strong suit. I'm going to go, like, 14 vils? I'm going to say an extra 14 vils on top of that. So really like 107 versus 71. That's pretty much what it would be like. And if I remember correctly with your upgrades, so your upgrades do stack multiplicatively on, I hate that word, on with that 28% base gather rate. So any upgrade that you get, you're getting a 10% lumber gathering upgrade. You're also, or 15% lumber gathering upgrade speed. You're getting that on top of your base gather rate as well. So you get 15% for the 1.0 and then 15% for the 0.28. But you don't get it for the subsequent upgrades. Like, those are additive on top of the initial one, if that makes sense. Anyway. Nice little bit of a raid that's come through. Still no walls up on the front of the base. And this is something that I absolutely dread against the French, against the Jeanne d'Arcs. Any civ that likes to get out, the Rus as well. Any civ that likes to get out and behind the enemy lines. But look at this. Chrysaor says, well, hold on. If you're in my base with your cavalry, I can be in your face with my army. And Voldemar says, okay, let's take a look and see. How good is the new Mangonel? He's got it producing somewhere. It's going to be down here on the bottom side. This is actually perfectly positioned. How long has he got? He's got 14 seconds that he needs to hold until the Mangonel is here. Now, keep in mind, Bodkin Bolt's not going to be an option for him. He's gone into the Archon Chapel instead of going into the Mine Work, and even if he did, he's going to have to wait until Imperial. But we hear the Pavis shield being thrown down by the Arbla Trio. They've got extra melee armor and extra range armor. Now, Mango comes out. Mango comes out. He could look. Come on, Mango. Mango, wake up. Wake up, Mango. Big Mango shot, and have a look at that. We've actually got a percentage instead of a flat amount. So instead of 2 or 3, it's now just 80% flat that it's shown here. So we're actually getting some varying amounts of resist that are coming through. And it's kind of relieving that they've done this. This is what they did for Age of Empires 3, and I felt like it worked a lot better in Age of Empires 3 than in Age of Empires 4 when you just had a flat amount. But Knights come through at the back. Have a look at this. Looks like we might have the cleanup crew here. Very well timed. That 3 population of siege coming up the rear. Didn't really do a whole lot other than just sort of pressure Chrysaor out, because he knows the longer that he fights in there, the worse it's going to get for him. And Voldemar's taken an absolutely wonderful fight there. Villager count at the moment, obviously heavily in his favor. Military count, slightly in his favor. And now we start to see plenty of siege in production. Not only does he have the first Mangonel out, he's also got a second Mango that's on the field. A third one is now in queue as well. He is intent on making siege a core component of his game today. Mango barely gets a single point of damage onto the enemy. Let's watch that again and see if we're able to get some I feel like he barely even sneezed on that enemy right then. I mean, this Mango just picked up a kill, though, so we'll take that. Killed a horseman. So he's got to be doing something right. So they do a base of 10 damage, the Mangonel, with 3 burst attacks, so that's a base of 30. And then against range units, they get an extra 8, so that goes from 30 to 54. So they're mathing out to do not terribly. Obviously, that's AoE damage as well, and it radiates from the center being the strongest outwards. So 54 on the middle shots each. So you'd need 3 shots now to kill a Gilded Crossbowman. I think that was always the case. It was just about how much damage you're actually doing. Now, keep in mind, in the Castle Age, your Mangonel is going to be a lot weaker than what it was before. So, like, if we looked at Season 8 versus now, your Mangonel's a lot weaker in the Castle Age, but in the Imperial Age, it's a lot stronger because of this upgrade. It's incredibly expensive, 2,200 resources. The most expensive upgrade in the game, say compared to, like, Roller Shutter Triggers, which is 500 resources. This is more than 4 times that. It increases the Mango range by 1, and increases their blast radius by 100%, and adds another projectile to the attacks. It is absolutely crazy how much that attacker buffs them up. But it basically turns Mangonels into crazy siege units in the late game. But speaking of crazy siege, looky what we got here. The Springald's coming out with its 60% range resist and 3 melee armor. So the Springald works a little bit differently. It's been changed now, where it doesn't fight. It doesn't stop its bolt on the first unit. It now the bolt will now go through the units, as long or depending on how much range it's got. So at the moment, it's got 8 tiles of range and it's armor piercing. I don't know what it means, armor piercing. Does it just mean it goes through the armor? Does it just mean it goes through? Look at the amount of Springalds he's got here. Numbers, oh my god, he's going to get caught with his pants down. You can see that Chris Ayor knows that there's going to be a lot of siege making its way out, so he just runs through onto the backside and spots it out. Very smart move. Springald's going to continue moving up against the army of Chris Ayor. You can hear those Springalds firing off, and Horseman's going to get taken out before he gets there. Meanwhile, on the backside, looks like the raid has been shut down completely. Chris Ayor holding on for dear life at this stage of the game. The big factor here is not going into that second TC earlier. You know, he had a number of options, or a number of opportunities is probably the better words for it. A number of opportunities to go into it, and he didn't go into it, and it's just one of those things that's really started to build up here. Springald's now moving forward, manages to get some nice little damage here, but he is losing quite a bit, and you can see that even the crossbows on the back able to take all 3 of them out. Now, Springalds aren't as expensive as they used to be. They're only 150, 100 now, and they only cost 2 pop. So you can't even really think of them as like the same unit anymore. It's a complete redesign. Obviously, they don't serve that purpose of just being able to shoot enemy siege either. So one of the things that I'm going to be looking for here is seeing how Chris Ayor goes about countering this siege. Because obviously the longer you leave this Mangonel here, like the more damage it does. Even if it feels like it's tickling you, like at the end of the day, you can die from laughter. Like there have been recorded cases of people who have died from laughter. I think that you actually asphyxiate, like you can't breathe because you're laughing so much, which would be terrible. But I guess the point is, even if you're getting tickled by the Mangonels slowly, like you're gonna go down. You have to try and make it a focus to take these out. You can't just ignore them. Springald's now from the south. Going to look to try and help defend. Vil's going to be moving up here. He could be thinking about throwing down a keep with 826 stone in the bank. That's exactly going to be the case, and he pops it down outside the enemy base. Keep in mind the French do get cheaper keeps. 810 is all you're going to need to pay for these keeps. Keep now outside the enemy base. Very difficult to push this position. And Chris Ayor, with only 14 military population, he's got a lot of units in queue, but realizes that this could be a bit of a tough spot to come back from, especially with the keep here. Springalds continue to make their way forward. The new Springald is actually, it's looking pretty good. I'm liking the way that it's working here. The fact that it's cheaper as well, and that it's very spammable. Oh, look at the damage that he's getting here. Look at the damage that comes out on these. He fires the bolt through the first one, and they just all go up the line. It's called an enfilade, is when that happens, because you get this awesome amount of damage that goes just up the line completely. Which is weird, because you'd think like a defilade is like somewhere you'd hide behind. You'd think like an enfilade would be completely different to what it actually means. But yeah, it's a bit strange. Why did they choose that word? Good game gets called. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Ayor tapping out with the kid, aka Voldemar, taking the victory for us here today. Absolutely lovely game from him. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave a link down below to where you can go and watch Voldemar's content. Make sure you go check him out, and I'll hunt around and see if Chris Ayor's got one as well. Anyway, we'll leave it there, and of course, we'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully, we get to see some more Siege.